I didn't know school could be this much fun. I now have 200 servants that do whatever I want. The best part is, I'm the only girl in an all-boys school, but not a single boy knows, not even the teachers. The secret is the one thing that has given me the leverage that I need. All of these boys were coming to me for advice when it comes to their girl problems, and that's the reason why they're willing to serve me. My advice works. I mean, it really works. Before me, this school was filled with boys who couldn't even get a girl to look in their direction. Now, even the most hopeless boy has a girlfriend. In return for the advice I give them, the boys do my homework and buy me lunch. They save me the best seats in the class and cover for me whenever I'm late, or even when I decide not to attend a class. It's taken me a long time to reach a point in my life where I'm happy. It wasn't always this way. In fact, a year ago, I hated school and my life. I went to a co-ed public school. I was pretty sporty, so I always got along better with the boys than I did with the girls. This made me a target, and the target on my back grew dramatically when the most popular boy in school started becoming attracted to me. I wish I had seen it coming, but I didn't. Up until that point, I thought my life was going great. That was when the rumors started. By the end of the day, I couldn't take the looks I was getting from everyone, the whispers behind my back. I tracked down the boy who liked me and asked him what was going on. "Get away from me, you freak," he said, and pushed me away. "I'm not into guys." I found out the full story then. The rumor was that I was actually a boy disguised as a girl. I went home in tears, distraught. I wondered how people could be so cruel and how they could lie about someone else. I was angry and hurt and more depressed than I'd ever been in my life. I spoke to my parents about what had happened. They were just as angry. They wanted to go to the school and lodge a complaint, but I told them not to. I was done with that school. My parents didn't like me quitting things, but this time, they agreed with me. Now I needed to find a new school. I spent days researching schools in my city. Most of them were copies of the school that I attended. It made me sick. I didn't want to go anywhere near them. It was then that I came across an all-boys school, far from the city, far from everything. It had all the facilities I was looking for. A great science lab, a debate team, and state-of-the-art sporting facilities. The only problem was that it was an all-boys school. My mom was actually the one who gave me the idea. I kept thinking about the rumor that the girls had started and thought to myself, if people can believe a rumor that I'm a boy, then maybe I can pose as one. I found out that this all-boys school had a big science fair contest each year. The next one was happening in a month's time. The winner of this contest would receive a full scholarship. I was a huge science geek, so it wasn't hard to come up with a project that could win. The toughest part was pretending to be a boy. I cut my hair and my nails. I stopped wearing makeup. I practiced changing my walk to look more like a boy. The day of the contest arrived. I was nervous, but I didn't need to be. Nobody paid much attention to me. They were more focused on my project and what it could do. The judges loved it. I won the contest and was awarded the scholarship. I had 1 week to get ready for the new term. My parents helped me prepare. My first week of school was challenging. The boys were gross, and my days were filled with burping, farting, and name-calling. All those times I'd spent wondering what boys do when they're alone, well, I suddenly had the answers. It was so different than spending time with my previous guy friends. To these boys, it was almost a competition to see how uncultured they could be. But I quickly learned how to get by unnoticed. I would punch the boys on the arm and snort at their stupid jokes. I even learned how to fart in public. I picked careful times to visit the bathroom, making sure no one was around, and I only showered when the rest of the boys were asleep. Everything was going fine until the school announced that they were going to have a social with a nearby all-girls school. My new friends started boasting about how many girls they were going to kiss. They asked me if I was in. I said no. That made them suspicious of me. "Don't you like girls?" one of them asked. "I already have a girlfriend," I said. That was good enough for them. The day of the social dance arrived. I then realized that I had nothing to worry about. These boys may have talked a big game about girls, but they didn't know the first thing about approaching girls. Not one of the boys had the courage to even go and speak to a girl. They were terrified, all 200 of them. The girls stood on one side of the dance floor chatting to each other and eating snacks off the main table. The tension was too much. I decided to break the silence. I walked over to one of the girls and started a conversation. It was refreshing to speak to girls for a change. For the first time in my life, I was glad to be around people who had a sense of decency. Soon, I was surrounded by a big group of girls. We were talking and laughing together. "These social dances are always the same," said one of the girls. "We come here excited to meet boys and leave disappointed because none of the boys even want to speak to us. It's great to finally speak to a boy." I smiled and decided that this was going to change. I invited them over to meet reunite some of my guy friends. In a few minutes, the silence was drowned out by conversation, dancing, and a whole lot of happy boys and girls. The next day, the boys treated me differently. I'd gone from being just about invisible to having a spotlight on me. Everyone wanted to be my friend, to help me with anything and everything. It was insane. Wherever I went, a horde of boys would follow me. Eventually, after a few days of this, I called a meeting one break time. "I'm tired of you all following me," I said. "What do you want?" The boys told me they wanted to learn how to speak to girls. They'd never met someone like me who knew how to just do that. Because the school was so far removed from the city, they had little to no contact with girls. The social dances were usually disasters, but I had changed all of that. "You make talking to girls look so easy. Please, teach us." This was perfect. I knew that I suddenly had bargaining power. I told them that I'd teach them, but I didn't have a lot of time. "Don't worry," one of them said. "Anything you need, we'll do it for you." It was a little overwhelming at first, but I soon got used to all of this help. The next 6 months were the best of my entire life. Whatever I wanted, I got. Whatever I said happened in a matter of seconds. They made me an office in a cottage on the side of the school that no one used anymore. It even had a private cellar. The boys filled it with all my favorite things, along with a desk and a few chairs. Boys would come in to see me with their girl problems. I gave them the kind of advice that a girl would give them. I actually enjoyed this. I hated when boys objectified girls. I was teaching these boys how to actually respect girls, and this was making all the difference. The social dances were becoming more and more fun. The more results the boys saw, the more they became obsessed with me. Luckily, whatever I said, they did. So I often asked for more quiet time, which they gave me. Just about every boy in the school had either a girlfriend or a few girls that they were friends with. Things would have gone on like this in perfect harmony if it wasn't for the arrival of the new boy. The first day I saw the new boy, I cringed. I knew him from somewhere. He wasn't from my old school, but from somewhere else. I just couldn't place him. And by the way he looked at me, he recognized me too. The first couple of weeks were fine, except that he always lingered at the edge of my sight. He observed me closely, but never approached me. But it was a matter of time. The more he saw how boys did everything that I wanted, the colder he became towards me. I soon heard through some boys that he was asking questions about me, where I came from, how long I'd been at the school. I didn't like this one bit. I still couldn't remember where I'd seen him. Eventually, he became fixated on me. I confronted him, asking him why he wanted to know so much about me. "You're hiding something. I've seen you somewhere, I just can't remember where. But I don't like this game you're playing, pretending to be some guru when it comes to picking up girls and using that to control them. People like you that prey on others make me sick. I'm going to find out what you're hiding and blow up this whole charade." He walked away, leaving me feeling irritated. And I have to admit it, scared too. There was something intense about him. This wasn't the kind of boy that made idle threats. I could tell that he wouldn't stop until he found something. I needed a plan. If he was going to look for dirt on me, I would beat him to it. I enlisted the help of the most trustworthy boys in the school. I told him to spy on the boy, to find out anything and everything about him. If he so much as stole bubblegum, I wanted to know about it. I had a nice thing going here at the school. I wasn't going to let this new boy take it all away from me. The information flooded in, and I have to admit, I was enjoying learning about my adversary. He had transferred from another school where he'd been labeled a troublemaker. Like me, he enjoyed science and biology. He even liked the same music as me, but there was nothing incriminating about him. I pushed my spies to try harder. A week later, I was frustrated. The new boy had no secrets. He had nothing to hide. And worst of all, I could feel that he was never going to let up on me. He kept asking questions about me, and soon I heard that he was asking the teachers about my history too. That was where I knew I was in trouble. I could control the boys in the school, but I had zero control of the teachers. I needed to do something fast. At school the next day, I arranged for the new boy and I to have a few periods alone in the cafeteria. "What's your problem with me?" I asked. "I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not forcing anyone to do anything against their will, am I?" He told me that he hated people manipulating others. He'd done his own digging into my past. "The guidance counselor told me the name of your previous school. I emailed them about you. They have no record of you being there, so I've emailed them back with your photo." I went cold. As soon as the people from my previous school saw my photo, they'd recognize me. He stood up to leave. I had to act quickly. I called my boys in and told them to take him to the cellar. He left kicking and screaming, but my boys didn't let him go. I knew it was a bad move, but I needed some time to think of a plan. An hour later, I went into the basement. I was shocked. The boys had tied him up to a wall. He had bruises on his face from where they'd punched him. I couldn't believe that it had come to this. I looked around me. These boys were doing everything for me. Without thinking, I knew then that it couldn't go on like this. It was only a matter of time before they did something terrible. "Leave us," I commanded. My boys left. It was just the two of us alone in the basement together. "You're done now," said the new boy. "Forget getting you kicked out of the school. I'm going to send you to prison for what you've done to me." I tried to reason with him, but he didn't want to hear any of it. This had all gone too far. Suddenly, everything that I had gained at this new school meant very little. In fact, at that moment, I didn't want any of it. The servants, the adoration, the friends, none of it. I was done. I revealed my secret to the new boy. He smiled. "That's where I know you from. We attended the same swimming club." But he was still angry about me lying to all the boys in the school. "If you don't tell them, then I will," I choked up. Here it was, my chance to make it right and end all of this. In the end, we made a deal. I would tell the boys that I was leaving to go to another school. In return, the new boy wouldn't press charges against me, and he would keep my secret to himself. I called my parents, explaining to them how things were getting out of hand. They were amazed by my story. They agreed that it was best to leave the school. I called a meeting with all the boys in the school. They didn't take the news well. They begged me to stay. They asked where I was going. Then they made a stand and said, wherever I was going, they would go too. "As much as I like that, I need you all to stay," I said. "I have taught you everything that I know. Now, I will find new boys to teach, and you will teach others what you have learned. Remember, respect the girls and they will trust you." I put in my transfer request, and a month later, I was at a new co-ed school, as a girl. I must admit, it was great to be invisible again. No one was watching me or asking me for advice every 5 minutes. The new boy and I stayed in touch. He kept me updated on how the boys at school were doing. It took them a while to readjust, but they were getting back to normal. They were still speaking to girls, and the social dances were still a big success. The new boy and I spent a lot of time talking. The talking soon became meetings, and a few months later, we started dating. Sometimes having one meaningful relationship is so much better than 200 boys that you can control. Hi, I'm Dora. Please like and subscribe. I lived in New York with my single mom. Dad left us long ago, and ever since, Mom had to work really hard to support us both. I had a happy life, except when I was 4, I fell really sick once, and after I recovered, I'd lost hearing completely in one ear. Luckily, one of Mom's employers was an ear doctor, and she gave me a hearing aid that I could easily hide behind my hair. Mom had to work double shifts for months to pay for it, but when it was time for school, she put me in the best one in town. On the very first day as I walked in, I bumped straight into a girl and we both fell down. So did my hearing aid. "Watch where you're going, loser face!" I quickly picked up my hearing aid and ran off before the girl got up, but soon after she walked into my classroom. Her name was Claire, and she just kept glaring at me the whole time. Later that day at the cafeteria, she came to my table and banged her tray on it.
"This is my seat, Dumbo." Oh wait, what's that twinkling thing behind your hair?
That's just a hearing aid. I have a...
Ew! Didn't someone tell you this isn't the right school for kids with problems?
With that, she suddenly pulled my hearing aid and threw it down on the floor. Just as she was about to stomp on it, a girl my age leapt out of nowhere and grabbed her leg.
"Don't you dare do that, you bully witch!"
Claire just kicked her off and laughed.
Oh, how sweet. A poor girl defending a deaf girl? You two could complete each other. And do you think you scare me, idiot?
As I was picking up my hearing aid, she pounced at me, but just then a boy stepped in and grabbed her hand.
"You should be scared, because the three of us can really kick your butt."
They both pushed Claire away and sat near me. How sweet! That's how I first met the twins, Chris and Lisa, who soon became my best friends. Years passed, but since that day, Claire was our sworn enemy. She was such a pain in our butts, bullying us all the time. Luckily, I had Lisa and Chris by my side, and we had the best times together. One evening in 8th grade, I was just hanging out with the twins at their treehouse, and I was the last one to climb down the rope ladder. Just as I had started to, the rope suddenly snapped. I went screaming to the ground, but before I could hit it, Chris caught me. "I got you. You're okay." "Chris, you just saved my life. You're my hero." Just then, my phone started ringing, and it was my mom. She was crying. I told Chris I had to go, and I ran home to find Mom in tears. She'd lost both her jobs, and she hadn't paid rent for months. I had no idea things were that bad. There's only one thing I can think of now. I'll have to call Mom.
Mom?
You mean I have a grandma? Mom then told me that Grandma had never wanted her to marry Dad, and when she did anyway, Grandma cut all ties with Mom. She probably hates me, and I don't know if she'll help, but I have to try. The next morning, when we took a cab to Grandma's place, I was amazed to see the size of it. It was a huge mansion. Grandma looked like she was a millionaire. We were led inside to an elegant, strict-looking woman who seemed shocked to see us. I thought she was going to start shouting, but instead she pulled me close and gave me a tight hug.
Oh, how I've longed to see you. You're so beautiful and all grown up.
Mom, I'm sorry I kept her away from you, but Grandma pulled her in too.
We've been apart for way too long, darling, and I've been much too lonely. I'm sorry I was so stubborn too. I'm just so glad you're back.
Wow, Grandma was cool. And just like that, my life completely changed. We moved into the mansion right away, and Grandma treated me like a princess. She took me and my mom to a fancy salon and then to amazing malls and restaurants. It was the best weekend of my life. The weekend just flew by, and it was time to get back to my own school. No, literally. Yeah, my grandma owned it. When I entered the school, everyone stood for a second to stare at me and the limo. And my classmates, their jaws dropped when they saw the different me. OMG, Dora, what have you done to your face and your hair? You look stunning. Yeah, right? It's all my grandma's doing, but I love it too. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, you look nice, but you always do.
But just then, Claire walked past me and threw a whole bottle of ink on my new dress. Ugh, I lost it. I attacked her and pulled her hair really hard. Just then the teacher walked in and pushed Claire away, helping me up.
Dora, are you all right? I'm sorry for this misbehavior. I'll have the principal suspend the girl immediately. And class, let this be a warning to everyone. Don't mess with Dora. Her family owns the school.
Everyone went, ooh, as the teacher took Claire to the principal. That felt awesome. Of course, the first thing I did was invite Chris and Lisa to my new home, and they were awestruck. We had the most amazing time in the pool and an in-house movie theater. But soon enough, my popularity in school started rising too. I was suddenly being invited to all the cool kids' parties. People wanted to sit next to me at lunch, especially the boys. And I had to admit, I was enjoying it. A few weeks later on a school trip, I got onto the bus and looked around for Lisa, but she wasn't there. Just then, Claire called out to me.
Hey girl, I saved you a seat.
I reluctantly sat down next to her.
Look, I know we haven't always gotten along, but maybe it's time to change that. I've seen you in gym class, and you have some natural cheerleading talents, so just come and audition tomorrow, okay?
I knew she was only being nice to me now because I was rich, but I'd always wanted to try out for cheerleading. I told her I'd audition, and just then, Lisa walked onto the bus. Seriously? You're sitting with the witch? You could have saved me a spot. Thanks for nothing. Hey, come on, that's kind of rude. Oh, was I rude to your new friend? Sorry. And with that, Lisa got off to sit in the other bus. It took 2 days for us to make up after that. I was having fun being a cheerleader, but with the practices and the games and after parties, I got less and less time to hang out with Lisa and Chris. One day, I was sitting with them in the cafeteria when the most popular jock in school, Dave, slid right next to me and grinned.
Hey, so I've got this awesome party at my place this Saturday. Think you could make it? You'll break my heart if you say no. You can bring your friends too, if you want.
I said yes and turned to them excitedly, but Chris muttered he had to go somewhere and left, and Lisa glared at me and stormed off too. I followed her. Hey, what was that? Someone invites you to a party and that makes you mad? No, you make me mad. Flirting with that jerk and going to this stupid party this weekend? I mean, who are you? A few months ago, we were making fun of these rich, spoiled kids, and now you're one of them. Oh, really? What's bothering you, Lisa? That I'm rich or that I'm popular?
That you're pretending to be someone you're not, and you can't even see who really cares about you. What is that supposed to mean? And I care about you guys. I want you to go with me. No thanks. You used to be pretty cool, and now I don't know who this pathetic loser is. What did you just call me? I pulled her back by her shirt and she started walking, and she turned around and attacked me. As we wrestled on the ground, Claire came running and pulled her off of me, but Lisa pushed her aside and left. And suddenly, I just felt really bad. Lisa and I had never fought like this before. I kept trying to call both her and Chris on Saturday, but neither of them replied. And then I was mad. So I went to the party that evening anyway. I was having a great time, especially since Dave was being so attentive and dancing with me. I went to use the bathroom, and when I returned, I found Dave with Claire and a few other kids, and they were talking about me. Listen, how long do I have to dance with the deaf girl? I mean, yeah, she's hot, but it's not like I'd ever date someone like her. I'd rather spend time with some other chick. Don't be a moron and ruin everything. I texted you the whole plan this morning. You dance with her, then you take her out for a walk, and then we'll come in masks pretending to attack you both. And we'll blindfold her, take her to the school, and lock her in the janitor's closet. It's not that hard.
I don't know, man. Don't you think it's a bit much?
No, it'll be fun. We're not hurting her. It's just for the weekend. The janitor will find her first thing on Monday, but her Richie Rich grandma will go bonkers in the meantime. It'll probably be on the news. Or maybe we should hide her somewhere for longer and ask for reward money. Oh my God, what? Thanks for letting me in on your plan, you psycho. I'll make sure you all pay for this.
Babe, it was all Claire. I was telling her it's wrong. She wouldn't listen.
But I gave him a hard slap across the face as I ran off to my car. I could hardly believe it. But instead of going home, I told the driver to take me to Lisa's. She'd been right. I'd been a fool to think these people could ever be nice. I already had amazing friends, and I couldn't lose them. But when I reached their house, I nearly died when I saw balloons at the gate. Oh my God, it was the twins' birthday today. That's why she was extra mad at me. How could I have forgotten it? I found Chris sitting on the porch outside, and he didn't look happy to see me. Chris, I'm so sorry. I feel like such a fool. I should have never gone to the party. I can't believe I missed your birthday.
Dora, you don't have to be sorry. You're beautiful, rich. You're surrounded by the most popular guys, but I've loved you ever since I met you.
What? What did you just say?
You heard me just fine. I've tried telling you before too, but you just never took the hint. It's okay if you don't like me that way. I'm sure there are better guys out there for you, but you do need to start being a better friend again.
He got up and walked inside, leaving me in tears. He was the best guy. How could I have been so blind? The next day, our school was competing in a big baseball game, but I had something more important to do. Lisa was having some of her amazing photographs displayed in a small gallery, and I had to be there. As I was admiring a photo, I heard her behind me.
Wow, didn't expect to see you here. You're so good at missing things.
Also, isn't there a big game today?
What's the team gonna do without their star cheerleader?
I don't care. I'm just sorry for being a terrible friend, Lisa. You were right about everything. Those people are awful, and I was so stupid for not seeing that. I'm sorry for hurting you. Please forgive me. And let me join the cool kids club again? Lisa slowly grinned and then hugged me so hard I nearly fell down. And when I told her all about the party, she was angrier than I was. Oh my God, that witch is so gonna pay for it. The next day during the last lesson, the teacher walked in and said the principal was calling me, Lisa, and Claire into her office. Claire looked shocked as the three of us made our way. And sitting there already was Grandma and Dave. What's going on here? You said my grandma would go bonkers, Claire. And she really did when she found out about your plan to kidnap me. What are you talking about? What plan? Didn't you say you texted the whole plan to Dave? And with that, Lisa whipped out Dave's phone that she'd stolen from his locker earlier. And luckily, the moron hadn't deleted the text. The principal was horrified, and they were both immediately expelled. As Lisa and I jumped around and hugged, I said, "Just got one more thing to take care of now." I ran down the corridor to see Chris walking out of the school building, and I caught up to him. As he turned around, I put my arm around him and gave him a kiss.
Whoa, what was that?
I was just curious. Listen, can I ask you out for dinner this weekend? Without Lisa, of course?
I think...